Dragon Ball Super episode 121 is now officially in the history books as we begin to make our way towards Dragon Ball Super episode 122, which premieres on January 7th, 2018, with one of the biggest battles happening involving Vegeta versus Jiren, Goku versus Jiren, Dispo versus Frieza, and joining me here today to talk about this is my good friend Bubbles, aka Popo's Bedroom. Now Bubbles, I wanted to ask you, I can't stress enough as to how many times I've watched the preview thus far, in seeing Vegeta fight Jiren, in seeing Frieza in trouble, Toppo steps up, Goku, looks like he's having fun, Gohan looks to be a bit concerned. So much is happening as we finally get rid of Raza, who was a very strong competitor in his own right, to now fighting three of the strongest members of Universe 11. And what I wanted to know from you is, what are your initial thoughts as we go into this fight? Because I think that this is being looked at, so far objectively in Vegeta's character, because everyone thought that Vegeta was going to get massacred. And it looks like, to Vegeta's respect, he's actually doing good. He's holding his own. He doesn't look like he's having that much, bit of trouble, even though we understand that based on what Vegeta's doing, it's going to have no significant effect on Jiren at all, I think at least. Especially Vegeta being blue level. Jiren is obviously way above that. So what I wanted to ask you is, what are your initial thoughts going into this fight? And again, we will be covering this topic on the channel once the episode debuts, so if you guys are new to the channel, then please make sure to smash that subscribe button alongside turning on all notifications. That way you guys can be notified whenever a brand new video is posted onto this channel. Now Bubbles, like I just said, Jiren versus Vegeta, what are your expectations? Frieza versus Dispo, what are your expectations? The preview, if anything, has me so stoked in seeing what the future holds for Dragon Ball, especially now since it's down to the final 9 minutes. What are your thoughts on Frieza versus Dispo? What are your thoughts on Jiren versus Vegeta as we ultimately make our way into the new year in Dragon Ball Super episode 122?
My initial thoughts going into episode 122 to kick off the new year is that it's going to be really cool to get to see finally the last two universes just get down to business. We got to see some cool shots of Gohan looked a little bit flustered with his fight, and we got to see the shots everybody's been waiting for, which has been Jiren versus Vegeta.
Right,
and I think that's gonna be so clean to see at the end, the very end of the preview, when we got to see Vegeta go to do the final flash. And when Jiren was almost taking a defensive position, I can't wait to see that in the episode. I think that's going to be so amazing to see how Jiren holds his own against Vegeta, because Goku did mention something in the preview on Vegeta pushing through his limits, so I definitely think that's going to be cool to see how that ties in.
I think looking at it from an objective point of view, the fight itself is going to be amazing, because looking at it from, a standpoint to where you want to look at Jiren, a lot of people have been saying that they felt as if Jiren has been kind of nerfed out for this fight, which I don't think is the case at all, because if you look at the way Jiren is combating Vegeta, it looks like, Jiren is, expressing a bit of concern on, while he's fighting him, because, normally when Jiren fought Goku or when he fought Hit, he didn't really have, any, expressive look on his face to where he was concerned, but here, it looks like every single time Vegeta is on the move, Jiren looks like he's kind of either irritated by Vegeta, or maybe he's kind of annoyed by him. And we see Vegeta land a few really good hits, which I cannot wait for. But I really wanted to ask you is, what are your initial thoughts going into the Frieza fight with Dispo? Do you see Frieza overcoming the odds and finally getting the best of Dispo? Or do you think that a lot of us in the fandom are underestimating Dispo in his ability to what he may do against Frieza? I mean, just what do you see the outcome happening there? And how well do you see Frieza doing against Dispo, as they go into that fight? Because as I just said, for me, Frieza, I think that Frieza's gonna get pushed to the point where he needs to use his golden form. But what are your essential thoughts on Frieza versus Dispo?
We finally get a good Frieza fight, I feel. I think it's gonna be a little bit of a background fight to the Vegeta versus Jiren. It's obviously not gonna be the main focus of the episode, in my opinion.
Right.
But I think it is gonna be cool to get to see Frieza actually putting in a hand now. Because I think that Frieza obviously has a really good strength and speed level for, for what he is, and the training that he's done. So I think to get to see him against a fighter like Dispo, that, you know, obviously we know is one of the fastest fighters, I think it's gonna be cool to see how their, like, powers clash almost, to get to see how Frieza overcomes the quickness and to get to see how Frieza is gonna take him down, because I feel pretty confident Frieza will be able to take down Dispo on his own.
I would hope so.
I don't think he's gonna need any other aid. So I think it'll be cool to finally get to see a one-on-one fight with Frieza, because I know that's what I've been waiting for from Frieza.
I don't think he's going to do so well in his final form. I think he's going to have to step it up because from what it looks like, I mean, I think Dispo is really going to give him a challenge, and respectfully so, because Dispo, whether you like him or you hate him, he is a really, really, you know, worthy opponent, I think, to anyone who steps in there with him, as seen with Hit. When he was fighting Hit, Hit was dumbfounded as to what Dispo was doing until Hit adapted it, but that's just Hit's nature. Hit's normally, you know, one to adapt to any situation. So I feel like for this case, Frieza is going to adapt to Dispo, but I don't think it's going to be done in his final form. I think the way to go about this is probably Frieza's going to have to use his golden form to take down Dispo. So the ultimate outcome of this is I'm predicting that Frieza's going to take down Dispo. I think that we're bound to see some eliminations happen quick. I don't think that we're going to be dragging certain things on for multiple episodes. For example, there's 9 minutes left. So what I wanted to ask you is, do you see Frieza eliminating Dispo in episode 122? Or do you see Dispo still, you know, hanging on, you know, just by a mere thread going into episode 123 and beyond? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I truly hope Frieza's not playing any games. Like, I hope he's not going to toy around with Dispo too much, because I feel that whether he's in gold or if he's just in his regular final form, I feel like, you know, he's gonna have a little bit of an upper hand, hopefully. So I would hope that he's not gonna toy too much. He's just gonna get the fight over with quick, because I think if he knows he can defeat Dispo and get him wrung out, I don't see a reason why Frieza would keep him around, because he knows, and he's admitted to knowing, that Jiren is obviously the big threat of Universe 11.
Right.
And he knows that that's something he doesn't want to get his hands dirty with. So I feel that the more that he can do now to get Toppo and Dispo gone, the more it just leaves it down to Jiren, because in a way, it's like you almost want to think that if Frieza takes his time and toys with Dispo a little too much, there's a possibility that Frieza could go out, and I think he realizes that, and he knows that if he goes out, you know, Dispo is still there with the capabilities of getting other members of Universe 7 out, and obviously I think Frieza has the mindset of the quicker he takes down Dispo, the quicker Universe 11 can go down, so that Universe 7 remains victorious, that kind of thing.
Right. I was going to say, I definitely feel as if Final Form Frieza isn't going to get the job done. I think that Dispo is going to get the upper hand on Final Form Frieza, and thus, as a result, I can see Frieza using his golden form and then, you know, just completely decimating Dispo. But, I mean, because the question lingers after that, like, where do we go from there? Because, obviously, if Frieza eliminates Dispo, it's just going to be down to Toppo and Jiren. So, I think that in this next episode, we may not see anybody get eliminated yet, but I think between the two, one of them is bound to get tossed out, and I think that person is going to be Dispo. So I'm going to make the guess now is that Dispo is going to give Final Form Frieza a really tough time, to where Frieza is, you know, kind of getting annoyed at the idea that this, you know, creature, this rabbit, just keeps, you know, out blitzing him and just, you know, speed blitzing him. And I think that at some given point he's going to realize, I'm going to have to waste some stamina on this dude. So I'm making the guess now that Golden Frieza is going to take down Dispo, probably going into episode 123, but I think 122 is more or less going to be the setup for that fight, similar to how we saw, you know, Vegeta versus Toppo. And when that fight first ignited, we saw them fight here and there per episode, so I think that the same thing might happen here, but I definitely think that Dispo is going to get the upper hand on Final Form Frieza, which forces his hand in using his golden form once more. But what I also wanted to ask you, since you brought it up, is Toppo. So we see how Toppo actually gets involved as well fighting against, you know, either 17 or Gohan. It's safe to assume that Goku and Vegeta are gonna fight Jiren, while Dispo fights Frieza, and Toppo assumingly either fights Gohan, 17, or both. So where do you see Toppo's placement, and how do you see his initial involvement? Because I mean, we get to see how Gohan seems like he's very concerned, because I mean there wasn't too much of Gohan shown, but there was one specific scene shown where we see Gohan, he looks like he's kind of like surprised or like in a bit of trouble. Do you think that's going to be against Toppo, or do you see Toppo doing something completely else?
It looked like he was having a bit of a rough time, Gohan, so I do think the idea of both Gohan and 17 fighting Toppo is a good idea. I think that, because, you know, we haven't seen much of Toppo, and this is something that I've stressed a lot for the anime-wise, is that, you know, we truly have not seen enough from Toppo to gather whether or not he is a strong fighter. Because in the manga, they made him a very, very strong fighter. So to get to see characters like Gohan and 17 struggle against him, I think is something I'm almost expecting, because I kind of want them to write him in as a stronger fighter, because he has not had a moment so far. And I think that being the final 3 is that Toppo's gonna get serious too, and he's gonna get down to the fact that he is one of the last people of his universe remaining, and that, you know, obviously he's a very prideful, you know, like type of person. So
Right.
he's gonna realize it does fall on him. Even though Jiren is still there, he is going to realize that at the end of the day it's 5-3, and it does still fall on him to help get those ring outs. And so I think he'll see that obviously Dispo will have his hands full with Frieza, and that, you know, the only other 2 that will be left will be 17 and Gohan. And I think that, you know, it might just be a little bit of a distraction with the other fights going on, which might be why Gohan looked a little bit disgruntled, because, you know, he's trying to pay attention to make sure nothing's happening to Vegeta or Goku, and is probably also making sure that Frieza's doing, you know, the right thing,
Right.
making sure that Frieza's staying on track with the fight with Dispo. So I think, you know, him having that team leader, that whole, like, dad side of him, he's really, like, gonna be trying to look out for the other fighters, but is also trying to look out for himself and continue the fight. And I think that that's where that face that we got to see in the preview clip comes in.
I definitely feel as if the fight between leader versus leader is going to happen, Toppo versus Gohan, and it makes sense to me because I've been calling it since day one. I want to see Gohan fight Toppo, and for me, I want to see Gohan get the elimination on Toppo, just because I feel as if Gohan needs the shine. I mean, to boost this character that much more, I think that what ought to happen, in my opinion, is I think Toppo needs to eliminate 17, and I think Gohan needs to eliminate Toppo. So, you know, just to give Toppo a reason to say, okay, well, he, you know, took down, you know, a top tier character from Universe 7, that being 17, but in retrospect, you know, they also ringed him out by having Gohan toss him out. So I just personally feel as if Gohan ought to be the one to ring him out, even though, again, I don't think any major eliminations are bound to happen. I can definitely see the setup to where Gohan's going to take on Toppo, while Toppo fights both 17 and Gohan at the same time. You know, similar to Frieza, I think that the fight's going to get dragged on, because we might see like a reversal for all we know. We might see Frieza fight Dispo, Gohan and 17 fight Toppo, and at some given point abruptly, like, they switch. So it could be Frieza versus Toppo versus, you know, as Gohan and 17 fight Dispo. And that's the fight that we all were kind of like wondering as to if it was going to happen, because when we first initially saw Dispo, a lot of us assumed, okay, well, he's going to fight 17 for obvious purposes, you know, given the fact that he's an android and Dispo is incredibly fast. You know, a lot of us were kind of wondering if that would be a great fight to witness, but now we're getting Dispo fight Frieza, while Toppo, you know, essentially is going to fight Gohan at 17. So I definitely think that, for some reason, I think that Toppo is going to gain the upper hand on if he ends up fighting Gohan at 17 for that matter. I can definitely see Toppo getting the upper hand for now. But as we go into the big battle, we have Super Saiyan Blue Goku and Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta fighting Jiren. A lot of people were wondering, do you think Jiren is nerfed? Do you think Jiren has been nerfed? Because it looks like Jiren kind of isn't doing the same as he did against Goku and Hit. You know, a little underwhelming, I guess, based on what we saw. But do you think that's because Vegeta is stronger, or they nerfed Jiren just because of, you know, the way people were complaining about how strong he was? And as Vegeta fights Jiren, how do you see that fight going about? Because I can definitely see this, and I'm gonna call it right now. I can definitely see Vegeta getting swatted out of the picture. I don't think that, despite what he does, and I do think that Vegeta is going to do damage, I don't think that it's going to be enough to do any sort of, major long-lasting effect on Jiren to where it can cause him to get wrung out. I think that Vegeta is going to unleash everything possibly that he has, including, like, his most powerful Final Flash, and I think that by the end of this episode, Jiren's still going to be standing, but I can't say the same thing about Vegeta. Even though I don't think that Vegeta is going to get eliminated, I think that Jiren is going to beat his ass very, very, very badly. Like, so what are your thoughts on that? Like, where do you see Vegeta's placement going into next week's episode? And essentially for that fight, how do you see Jiren handling Goku and Vegeta? Because if you noticed how Goku was holding his own, there was one specific shot in the preview to where Goku looks like he was smiling. He was like countering Jiren's punches and he was smiling, but then Vegeta, when he was fighting Jiren, I mean, not so much. It looked like they were both kind of like into the fight, like, severely. So, like, what are your expectations for that battle?
Well, I think definitely it's gonna start with Vegeta wanting to throw himself into fighting Jiren. That's definitely what I see from Vegeta, just because he is also that very prideful character, and he kind of has that vision of, if Goku could do it, I can as well. And he knows how Goku did against, with his fight against Jiren. So it was he's gonna kind of want to do the same thing as well.
Right,
because we already saw him once throughout the tournament thinking that, he could also achieve Ultra Instinct throughout the tournament. And I feel that, in his mind it might be a little bit of, if Goku was versing Jiren when he attained Ultra Instinct, it could be possible for him as well. But I think that's, that's an entirely different thing. For the fight-wise, I think it's going to be pretty cool to see, because we actually got to see Vegeta land some hits on Jiren.
Yes.
And, I was not expecting to see that in the preview.
I really wasn't either, and it was legit hits. It was a few shots to the gut, it was a kick to the gut, it was a punch to the gut. Do you think that that's going to have any sort of lasting damage on Jiren, or do you think that he's just going to, shrug it off and then just massacre him as the episode continues?
I would almost feel he'd shrug it off, because he was established from the beginning as such a strong fighter, so I think it's to the point where it shouldn't be bothering him. Like, just a simple punch and a kick like that should not be bothering this fighter that was depicted to be as strong as a god of destruction.
Right.
So I think, especially in a blue form fight, a blue form punch and a kick should not be something that should be rivaling somebody like Jiren. So I really want to see what happens in the rest of the episode that plays it to the point where a punch and a kick is enough to make a dent in Jiren. Like, does something else happen? And, that's what we're seeing, but we didn't quite see that part in the preview.
That's exactly my point. I mean, looking at that, do you think he's nerfed? Because it just almost feels like he kind of is. Even though I'm not saying that Jiren's going to be nerfed in this battle, I just firmly feel like something's up, because not knocking Vegeta, I just don't see Vegeta doing any credible damage in blue level unless they made Vegeta stronger than how Goku and Hit was during their first confrontations with Jiren, which I mentioned, previous in my videos, that I believe that to make Vegeta's character relevant against Jiren, they're going to have to put him above, Blue Goku and Hit just to give him a good shot. So do you think that Vegeta at max power right now is going to be stronger, or at least do better than Kaioken Goku and Hit did? Or do you think that, going into this fight he's going to try, but the outcome's more or less going to be the same? What do you think?
Well, since the beginning of the tournament, we haven't seen Vegeta too much, so we know that he has quite a bit of energy and stamina still stored left, so I'd say that that's definitely going to be a factor. Like, his blue form might actually be stronger than Goku's blue form, just because we've seen him training a lot more, and I feel that Goku doesn't always properly train with forms, like that kind of thing, and I think that Vegeta has a better realization on how to use his transformations to the fullest, right. And I think that that's something that we're gonna see with his fight against Jiren, because I think that he might have not mastered things differently, but just the way he acts and the way that he fights is a lot more different than the way Goku fights. Goku fights to fight for fun and to fight the strongest person, and Vegeta has a specific determination behind him and behind his actions, and I think that that's something that we're really going to get to see come into play, and hopefully he doesn't get too tossed to the side against Jiren, because I really don't think without Ultra Instinct, he's kind of gonna he's not gonna be too much of a match, but I do feel like, at least from what we saw from the preview, he is doing pretty well against Jiren, and that's something that I'm looking forward to, because we didn't expect Vegeta in his blue form to even make a dent, and so I think it's gonna be cool to see how that plays out with the fight.
They're definitely going to give him the Kid Buu treatment. I mean, I've been saying that since day one, and I firmly believe that that's going to happen. I think that he's going to remain. He's not going to, get, completely fodderized, but, because I do have hope in Vegeta, but he's going to get the Kid Buu treatment. Once this is all said and done, Jiren is going to beat his ass so bad that I think that he's gonna, Vegeta's gonna remain in the ring, but also seeing Goku there, see, that's what threw me off. I did not expect to see Goku throw down with Jiren so early. And it's crazy to me because, again, we see during certain shots of the preview, he's kind of like having fun, he's laughing. It's like, dude, like, you're laughing while fighting this dude, like, this never happened before. So, like, what are your thoughts on Goku versus Jiren? Even though he's not an Ultra Instinct level yet, just seeing him back in blue level having to throw down with him, like what are your overall expectations for that fight?
Goku has such an air of overconfidence about him, and I don't know, I feel like, I know that, Goku always gets the upper hand for the most part, so I don't really think that something like this would happen to him, but it should almost be that his overconfidence should be his downfall,
right?
And that never happens to him, because he always shows up to a fight with such a carefree nature, and I really truly don't think that he realizes how much is actually weighing on this fight.
Yes.
So I don't know if he's overconfident because he realizes, like, think back to when Gohan was versing Cell, and he had that air of overconfidence because he knew Gohan could defeat Cell.
He even apologized afterwards to everybody. He told everyone that he didn't know that it would end up like this, because obviously he felt as if Gohan could have gotten the job done. But I don't think that he really believes that he's gonna place all of his faith in Vegeta, because even in the preview he says, I'm not sure that you can do it on your own either. I mean, Jiren is Jiren. So, but with Goku there, like, I did not expect to see Goku throw down with him so early. Like, do you think this is going to be the opportune moment to where Jiren beats both of them down, and thus, giving Goku reason to go UI, in which goes into episode 123? Like what are your overall expectations as we wrap this up? Because I think that looking at this from, a general point of view, I think that this fight early on with Goku is going to give him all the reasons to tap back into Ultra Instinct, as not only Vegeta gets his ass kicked, but Goku does as well. So I'm calling it right now, Jiren is going to beat down both of them. Do you feel differently, or do you feel as if at least one of them is going to have a better chance than the other? Like, what do you think?
Well, I think that it's the perfect time for them to throw down. I mean, there's only 9 minutes left and there's only 8 fighters left, so I think it's the mentality of let's get everyone out of the way while we can. And I'd honestly like to see, whether it be Goku or Vegeta, one of them try to get the upper hand, or at least come close to getting the upper hand, because, I'm personally watching to see Universe 7 win and to see Universe 7 do good things. And, I feel obviously the only way to do that is to get Universe 11 out of the way. And so we know right now the only fighters that really truly have the capability of doing that is, UI Goku, or the possibility that Vegeta obtains UI. So getting to see these fighters against Jiren, I really do hope one of them is gonna at least stand the slightest chance against him in these upcoming episodes, because I feel like it's gonna be a big throwdown, but I really do want it to end quick. I don't want this to draw out. I want it to be the kind of thing that if Vegeta's gonna get UI, he gets it now, and, he actually makes a dent in the tournament, instead of this just the fight of them both just getting their ass kicked just, like, drags on, because that's gonna be boring. I feel like the tournament has already drawn out for too long. There's only 9 minutes left. I just feel like it's at the point where it needs to get done. So I really hope that if Jiren's gonna, like, kick their asses and get them out, that is either gonna happen, like, now, or it's gonna happen to where either Vegeta or Goku are the ones to like win for the most part.
I definitely think that this episode's gonna set up for such an amazing fight, because I mean, this is everything that we've all been waiting for such a long time, and I feel like this is going to bring us justice towards Vegeta's character, towards Goku's character, at least for the most part for Goku, because I still firmly believe that Goku he's gonna get his ass kicked very badly, and I don't see him lasting very long. But in the end, guys, post your comments down below. What are your overall thoughts and expectations for Vegeta versus Jiren, for Goku versus Jiren, and for essentially Dispo fighting Frieza, and all everything in between? Because it just seems like everything is just gonna, it's being thrown in your face so quick that it's kind of hard to like process everything at once. But I just think that looking at this objectively, I think Universe 7 is truly in trouble, and we might see that going into next week's episode, or the first episode of the new year. So post your comments down below, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. Also, don't forget to check out at Original Dragon Ball Super at Facebook, which is Dragon Ball Super, the Dragon Ball Super page. I'll leave a link down below. Also, guys, thank you all so much for watching. If you guys are new, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, guys. Leave a like down below if you guys enjoyed. If you guys are new, also turn on all notifications. Check out Bubbles' channel. I will leave a link to her down below. Thank you so much for joining me, Bubbles, and we'll be seeing you all down in the comment section, guys. Take it easy. Peace.